Morocco and the occupied territory of Western Sahara control approximately 75% of the world's remaining phosphate rock reserves, totaling an estimated 50 billion tons. Phosphorus has zero synthetic substitutes, meaning global caloric stability is tethered to this specific geological concentration. 90% of all phosphate mined enters the NPK fertilizer chain to sustain industrial agriculture. Consequently, the world faces a singular systemic bottleneck where the global food supply is managed by a single state entity. Under international law, the UN classifies this region as a non-self-governing territory, yet the physical infrastructure dictates a different reality. A 61-mile conveyor belt, the longest in the world, cuts across the Saharan desert to transport raw ore from the Bou Craa mine to the port of Laayoune. The Court of Justice of the European Union recently terminated trade agreements in the region via case C778/21P. But the logistical flow of minerals remains uninterrupted by legal mandates. The extraction head at coordinates 26 degrees 19 feet 40 minute, north 12 degrees 50 minute 53 third west, is visible from low Earth orbit as a distinct white scarring against the desert floor. This automated system processes 2,000 metric tons of phosphate rock every hour, operating 24/7 under continuous surveillance. OCP Group reported 2023 annual revenues of $9.1 billion, solidifying its position as the primary architect of global soil fertility. The mechanism is a masterpiece of industrial efficiency, operating within a jurisdictional void. Protection for this asset is provided by the Moroccan Western Sahara Wall, a 2,700-kilometer fortification known as the Burm. This sand barrier is surrounded by an estimated 7 to 10 million landmines, making it one of the most heavily militarized zones on Earth. Military logs regarding the defense of the Bou Craa line against Polisario Front incursions remain classified and beyond public audit. The security of the global food chain is thus enforced by a kinetic barrier of steel and explosives. Industrial modeling from Nature Communications suggests that peak phosphate could occur as early as 2033, creating a finite countdown for global agriculture. As reserves elsewhere deplete, the Bou Craa region becomes the geopolitical last man standing in the fight for caloric security. Proclamation 10126 recently shifted the diplomatic landscape, but the underlying geological reality remains unchanged. The paradox is absolute. The world cannot eat without a territory it legally does not recognize. On October 4th, 2024, the Court of Justice of the European Union delivered a terminal blow to the status quo through case C778/21P. The ruling effectively voided trade agreements between the EU and Morocco involving Western Saharan resources, citing a lack of consent from the Sahrawi people. However, legal mandates in Luxembourg rarely stall the high-speed rollers of the Bou Craa belt. Consequently, the European market faces a binary choice: uphold judicial integrity or risk a systemic collapse of its agricultural yields. The diplomatic architecture shifted irreversibly under U.S. Proclamation 10126 in December 2020. This executive order recognized Moroccan sovereignty over the entire region as a cornerstone of the Abraham Accords. Therefore, while Brussels debates human rights, the world's largest superpower has already anchored the region's mineral wealth to a permanent geopolitical alliance. This creates a friction point where international law and superpower pragmatism are in direct, unresolvable conflict. In July 2024, the French government officially collapsed the EU's internal consensus by declaring that the present and future of the region fall under Moroccan sovereignty. This official statement from the Élysée Palace radically altered the power balance within the European Union, pitting French industrial interests against Scandinavian legalist blocs. The blood phosphate label has become a secondary concern to the immediate reality of fertilizer dependency. Consequently, the extraction operations at Bou Craa have transitioned from a localized dispute to a fracture line in Western unity. Precise financial audits of the Bou Craa operations remain elusive, with the distribution of royalties to the indigenous Sahrawi population acting as a systemic black hole. While OCP Group reported $9.1 billion in 2023 revenue, the percentage of these funds reaching the local territory is not disclosed in any public ledger. This lack of transparency fuels the blood phosphate narrative, creating a moral hazard for global importers. But the NPK dependency is absolute, and moral hazards are frequently ignored when caloric security is at stake. To stabilize its global standing, OCP launched a $13 billion green investment plan spanning 2023 to 2027. This initiative aims to transition the entire Bou Craa infrastructure to 100% renewable energy by 2027, rebranding the world's most controversial mine as a leader in sustainable extraction. The paradox deepens as wind turbines now rise alongside the militarized Burm, powering a monopoly that the international community cannot legally accept, yet cannot survive without. The green transition is thus the ultimate shield against regulatory scrutiny. Industrial modeling published in Nature Communications suggests that peak phosphate, the point of maximum global extraction, could occur as early as 2033. As conventional reserves in China and the United States face rapid depletion, the world's agricultural survival shifts toward a singular geological anchor. Consequently, the Bou Craa region is transitioning from a localized mining operation into a geopolitical, last man standing asset. The countdown is no longer theoretical. It is measured in the receding soil fertility of every other continent. The systemic danger lies in the NPK dependency, where phosphorus has zero known synthetic substitutes for large-scale food production. Unlike oil, which can be replaced by solar or nuclear energy, there is no alternative for the mineral extracted from this 61-mile line. Therefore, any disruption to the Bou Craa conveyor belt acts as an immediate on-off switch for global caloric stability. We are entering an era where geopolitical leverage is not defined by data or currency, but by the control of the fundamental building blocks of life. By 2027, OCP Group intends to have the entire extraction infrastructure powered by 100% renewable energy, effectively rebranding the blood phosphate as green phosphate. This $13 billion transition is a strategic maneuver to neutralize international legal challenges through environmental compliance. Consequently, Western nations find themselves in a regulatory trap. They must either accept the sovereignty of the extractor or face a 20% drop in global crop yields. The greening of the Saharan mine is the ultimate shield for a permanent monopoly. The Moroccan Western Sahara wall remains the physical guarantor of this mineral flow, defended by a classified density of landmines and military surveillance. While diplomatic statements from Paris and Washington provide the legal cover, the Burm provides the kinetic reality. The distribution of the $9.1 billion annual revenue remains a financial black hole, undocumented in any public Sahrawi ledger. Therefore, the global food supply is secured by a mechanism that exists in a state of permanent, audited secrecy. Ultimately, the Bou Craa paradox reveals a world that has traded international law for systemic survival. As we approach the 2033 trigger point, the legal status of the territory becomes increasingly irrelevant compared to the physical necessity of its ore. The world cannot eat without a region it refuses to acknowledge, creating a baseline of hypocrisy that underpins every industrial harvest. Subscribe to Leviathan Files. Stay curious and remember, the truth remains buried under 61 miles of moving stone.